Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are. Hello, thank you for watching my videos. It's Mike. It's April 8th, 2009. Okay, so a couple of news stories I've been watching over the last couple of days whilst busily preparing for my departure to Canada. The first one, from Ambrose Evans Pritchard in the Daily Telegraph, and apparently syndicated across the world. I didn't know that about Ambrose. Swiss slide into deflation signals the next chapter of this global crisis. Okay, so official figures have been released in Switzerland, indicating that consumer prices fell 0.4% in March year-on-year, which means that the Swiss consumer price index will be minus 1% by July at least. Nearing the level where spending psychology changes. Now, there's a big theory that somewhere around about, between 1 and 2% deflation, the way that people behave changes. And this was demonstrated in Japan in the beginning of this century. Anyway, so the Swiss National Bank is not easily spooked, he goes on to say. It is the world's benchmark bank, the keeper of the monetary flame. Nice turn of words, Ambrose. However, if deflation really starts hitting in Switzerland, they're going to do something nasty. They're going to have to do something nasty to protect their economy. More than likely devalue the Swiss franc slightly. This is never a good thing, and is never taken very well by the markets. So, additionally, we're seeing deflation in Japan beginning as well. Taiwan is devaluing, so is Korea, Singapore, and Sweden all seem tempted to follow, so it says. And Japan is chomping at the bit to start devaluing the yen, which is going to be a whole new set of troubles. However, what's been happening in the UK? UK production shrinks to lowest in over 40 years. Basically, the manufacturing sector in Britain is declining dramatically. It shrank the most since records began in 1968. They have no idea how fast this thing is dropping. Data out on Tuesday showed that output fell by 6.5% in the 3 months leading to February, and it seems to be continuing. The worst affected was car manufacturing, funnily enough, where output fell by 30.7%, according to figures from the Office for National Statistics, which probably means that it fell even more. They're just sugarcoating it for now. So, what's this going to do to the UK economy? See, it's important to understand that, okay, manufacturing is declining, so this will, of course, have a knock-on effect to unemployment. Hours will be reduced, for instance, and this is already happening across the country in all kinds of different sectors, hours being dropped. Of course, when there's a drop in hours, there's a drop in salaries, which means that people have less money to spend on discretionary items, or to go out gambling, or to go to the pub, or do whatever they're doing. Which in turn has a roll-on effect, which means that pubs start closing, gambling, casino things aren't making as much money. We're seeing this dramatically over in Las Vegas, but it's happening all over the place. I mean, in the UK, you have corner shops that basically are little gambling shops, and they're closing up or reducing hours or dropping the number of workers. It's not good, and it all triggers from the key parts of any economy. And over here in Britain, we actually did have a fairly decent manufacturing, but it seems to be going away. And I've actually heard reports that job centres across the country are beginning to close as well. It's not good. Okay, where is this leading up to? Okay, now Alcoa. Alcoa is an aluminum manufacturing company, aluminium over here in the UK. Alcoa's loss underlines collapse in global demand. Basically, Alcoa has blamed a global slump in demand for a loss that they experienced. The company made a profit of $303 million in the first quarter of 2008, okay, but sales in the quarter dropped by 44%, so they lost, basically losing all kinds of money. Aluminium prices fell by 50% in the second half of 2008 as a result of the slide in demand, and right now the price of aluminum is down about 60% lower than where we were last summer. Why is this? Because nobody wants to manufacture things. And it's only going to get worse if we see a continuing decline in manufacturing, particularly here in UK and in Germany. Germany is dropping quite dramatically, and Japan, then all the commodities are going to start shrinking. Now, Of course, China has already been in a deflationary cycle. They've just started theirs. So we don't know what's going to happen over there because they've been pumping a big stimulus bill through to get people to buy white goods. Basically, poorer people out in the countryside can now go and buy washing machines and things, which will help their manufacturing, but it's not going to stop the decline in any real way. Now, off of the coast of the UK, we evidently have tankers anchored off Devon, waiting for oil prices to rise. So basically, they've shipped this oil in tankers up to Britain here, but they're not putting it into any of the storage locations here. They're just leaving the ships, sat out at sea, while they wait for the prices to rise. Now, this has had a good impact. They put a positive spin on it. Basically, the fact that nobody wants this oil is neither here nor there, apparently. Basically, local shopping and the locals in that area are doing quite well because they get all these, men coming off the boats and they're bored. They've been at sea for a few months, so they go party, which is bumping up the economy there. So if that continues, go move to a port. Yeah. Mind those drunken sailors, though. Okay, so the big story today is in the Financial Times. Ireland unveils emergency budget. Now, Ireland's finance minister warned on Tuesday the nation faced the challenge of its life as he slapped higher taxes on middle classes in an emergency budget aimed at tackling the spiraling economic crisis. Now, there is some good news in that Ireland's going to try and set up a bad bank kind of concept to suck these horrible assets out of the banks and have them, quote, owned by the government, and should they not explode, the government may actually make some money out of it, but that's highly unlikely. Now, the Telegraph goes into much more detail as to what kind of impact this will have on people in the real world. Dublin has unveiled the harshest austerity measures in the history of the Irish Republic, raising taxes and slashing expenditure, despite mounting evidence that the country is already tipping into debt deflation. Okay, so basically they're going to need to stop the budget deficit spiraling to 13% of GDP, so he's going to have to bring in draconian measures. Yes. He said basically that the economy would contract by 8% this year. Consumer prices will tumble 4%, is his prediction. This is the finance minister, Mr. Linehan. Fiscal tightening will then, therefore, need to take place. Now, what's he doing? Okay, so the details are and how it's going to hit people. There's going to be an extra 4% tax on gross income for anyone earning more than 75,000 euros, rising to a 6% tax for those earning above 175,000 euros. Which is quite nasty. Now, tax raising aimed at restoring investor confidence in Ireland's handling of public finance. Yeah. The country faces a hole in its exchequer, with tax revenue from construction evaporating after the bursting of the property bubble. Revenues are set to fall to 34.5 billion this year, down from 40.75 billion euros last year, and down from 47 billion euros in 2007. So that's 12 billion euros the taxman was expecting that has not appeared. And it's not going to appear anytime soon. So this is going to cause some very serious shifts in the way that people think within Ireland. Unfortunately, we're hoping that, people... unions have agreed already to accept pay freezes and even cuts for public employees and so forth. But it's going to get kind of nasty. Now, same sort of thing is going to be happening in the States, although you're not hearing about it. They're already raising silent taxes, they're raising taxes on all kinds of things to pay for the budget over in the States. And anyway, I've linked here a connection to a website in the States for the U.S., for my U.S. viewers. TaxDayTeaParty.com. And basically, they'll tell you where to go on the 15th of April to have a tax day tea party. So if I click, there's a random one here, Maryland. Well, that'd be a good one, actually. Maryland would be nice to go to. And it'll list off, here's all the events, here's where they're happening, here's when to gather. And there's a countdown clock on this. 7 days, 19 minutes, 15 seconds at the moment, until the fun begins over in the States. Okay, folks. peace, love, understanding. Think about things. And I'll speak to you again probably maybe Friday. We'll see. Okay,